It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I've had the zchus to lecture in Toronto live, pre-corona, and it was a wonderful time, and I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to many of the wonderful people there, Cindy Scheinbein, Julie Kaplan, many other wonderful people who I had the pleasure to be hosted by. And so I thought of an idea that I should reach out and do whatever I can to avail of my services to the wonderful people in Toronto now. What can I add? What can I contribute to this time right now in terms of giving people chizuk? Normally, you'd hear me give an entire presentation on some aspect of an obstacle or roadblock in dating, but I don't think that's the case right now. It didn't seem to me that that what the time was calling for. What the time was calling for, in my opinion now, was to get some chizuk and inspiration. We've been through a difficult time in the last year and change, and obviously in our brothers and sisters in Canada have had it worse than us, more difficult in terms of that they're technically still in lockdown. I'm not up to date on the latest. However, they felt the pain of not being able to date, especially a lot of the girls who are used to coming here and dating and knowing. Over the course of the last year, I've been involved, I wouldn't say with a plethora of shidduchim in Toronto, but enough to realize that it's caused a lot of pain to a lot of people. People had to figure out how to get up there, and once they got up there, there was a 2-week quarantine requirement, and then is it worth it? And if the girl comes here, and in some cases, the girl came here and spent 3-4 months here, ended up getting engaged and married here and never went back. So it definitely caused a lot of emotional discomfort and emotional pain. So I thought tonight would be a night, I think we're coming out of it. I think, Be'ezus Hashem, we're coming out of it. And what words of inspiration can I share with you that'll help us to move forward? And what, as if I was a girl right now in Shidduchim, what can I work on so I can be the best version of me as I prepare to enter Shidduchim, and as hopefully as travel lanes start to open again. So I thought that I'd like to share an incredible story with you in terms of chizuk and how to hang in there when times are a little stressful. Let me share an incredible story with you about an older woman who was a Holocaust survivor who writes the following. We were good Polish girls born to Polish mothers, which meant that there was no such thing as refusing to eat. If mommy put the food in front of you, you had to eat it. My friend's mom took a little too far and got her used to eating unbelievable amounts of food. She didn't notice that her daughter was becoming as big as a house. She was just constantly plowing her with food on a daily basis. But it didn't matter to her or to us. And when the Nazis came, they put us all in the ghetto. It was hard to describe the incredible hunger we all suffered, even when people started to die from hunger. To my friend's good fortune, she had a lot of reserves as she was overweight and very fat. Within a year though, she looked just as thin and scrawny as the rest of us. So the Nazi abuse didn't spare her. Then we got sent to the camps. It was run by the SS. They didn't have much to do and they were bored. Their only form of entertainment was killing Jews, tormenting them first and then killing them. One of the German officers was an enormously fat woman. One day she stood next to one of us and we started laughing, even though we were skin and bone, but we were laughing at how enormously big she was and the difference in size between us and her. We couldn't help but laugh. Her friends teased her that the quantities of food she ate could have fed the whole camp, all the inmates, for a week. She wasn't offended, she was happy about her status. And she announced suddenly, to our amazement, that she's going to invite us to an eating contest. She says to us, "You Jewish girls, you're hungry, right? So pick someone who'll compete with me to see which one of us can eat the most. If your contestant wins, I'll give you unlimited kosher food for a week. But if I win, the whole camp will be starved for a month." And when I say starved, I mean I know exactly where you hide your food, your little crumbs of bread that are moldy and old underneath the boards inside the bunks. We didn't know what to do. One look at her told us we had no chance. On the other hand, we didn't have a lot of choices either. And then I remembered my friend. Oh, my friend. I made my way over to her and I said, "Tzipi." She was hurt by the thought that she would be entering a contest, an eating contest, for everyone else's benefit. But I said to her, "You have nothing to lose. If you lose, you lose. But if we win, we all get to eat. We're about to die from starvation." Our only condition was that the food be kosher, even if the menu was the same. And when the food arrived, we were in shock. This was what was placed before each of the contestants. First course was a loaf of bread with a bowl of cooked vegetables and a pot of split pea soup. The second course was 2 whole roasted chickens with side dishes of rice casserole and raw carrot salad. And the third course, there was 6 stuffed cabbage heads. and 2 pounds of beef. And there was a 4th and a 5th course and a 6th, but I won't bore you with the details. According to the rules of the contest, every last morsel of the food had to be consumed except for the bones. There was no limit to how much you can drink. Talking during the meal was forbidden. And neither of the contestants could say anything to the other person except, please pass the salt. Anyone violating the rules, and of course anyone saying that she could no longer continue eating, was obviously the loser. We were given 2 days to prepare for this contest. The big day finally arrived. We all gathered in an open area and the contest started. It's not that I didn't appreciate my friend's capacity for food, but when they started, I didn't appreciate it enough. As the Nazi woman, the bear, devoured her food like a hungry bear, my friend ate slowly and methodically. The Nazi woman quickly gained ground, moving on to her 3rd course, while my friend was still on her 1st. But the frenzy came with a price, and my friend started to close the gap. I'll spare you the details, it was terrible. They had portions of food that even outside the camp were considered unreal. At around the 4th course, the Nazi looked exhausted. You could see she was eating just to win. As for my friend, she looked like she was just enjoying every bite. And the scene became pitiful. They were finishing the 6th course when my friend called me over and whispered something. And one of the Nazi friends called out, "She's disqualified. According to the rules, it's forbidden to consult with anyone." And the judge came over and asked for an explanation and said, you're not allowed to talk. And I said, all my friend wanted to ask me was if there was any more stuffed cabbage, because it was so delicious. The Nazi competitor threw down her fork and said, "I'm dropping out. I'll never win. I'm about to pass out, and that skinny little thing over there is asking for more food. I don't have a chance. I give up." And the woman says, the Nazi Holocaust survivor, "You should have heard the cheers ring out. We carried our friend out to recover. On the way, someone asked me, why was that stuffed cabbage so important to her in the middle of the contest?" And my friend rushed to my defense. She said, "That's not what I said. What I whispered was that I couldn't continue to eat even if my life depended on it." And she said, and the woman said, I changed what she said, turning her statement of failure into a statement of confidence. And the immediate result was victory. And ladies, mothers and girls, here's the important lesson from here. You can't give up. No matter what, you can't give up. Sometimes you feel like it's been a difficult year, you've been locked in, there's no hope, what's going to be? But you could see people, when they were in most trying of circumstances, were able to grab that opportunity and say, you know what, I can take failure and convert it into success. And that's our mission tonight, to draw upon the strength that we can gain from our holy Torah and be able to march forward. Yes, we had a very difficult year and it was very trying, but we can do this. We can all do this. And I want to give you a little chizuk by just asking a question about it from a story. Let me share an amazing story. And the title is called, Who Did the Most for Judaism? Rabbi Cheskel Sarna was the Rosh Yeshiva of Hebron, which is a major yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. Baruch Hashem, I have a son-in-law who went there. He was asked to speak at the bris of a shared grandson of one of the other Rosh Yeshivas of Moshe Chevroni and the Ger Rebbe. A very interesting thing took place here. A Litvish family married to a Hasidic family, 2 major dynasties. This joyous occasion was celebrated by many prominent families. And in the audience were some descendants of some of the most outstanding representatives or personalities of Torah of the 20th century, including descendants of the Chavetz Chaim, the author of Slobodka, the author of Nevadak, and the Vizhnitzer and Ger dynasties, Hasidic dynasties. Reb Sana made the following remarkable statement. Everyone in this room believes that his grandfather did the most for Klal Yisrael in the last 100 years. The Chavetz Chaim, the author of Nevadak, and the author of Slobodka all had many students and established prominent yeshivas. So did the great Rebbes of Vizhnitz and Ger. But I'm here to tell you that none of these people would be considered the person that did the most for Judaism in the last 100 years. And I'll tell you even more. The person who did the most for Klal Yisrael in the last 100 years never even learned a blot or a page of Gemara. And the audience was now spellbound. And I'll tell you even more. When I mention the name of this person, you'll all agree with me that the individual who did most for the Jewish people in the last 100 years, her name, not his name, was Sarah Schneer. Everyone in the room smiled and agreed. Because Sarah Schneer was the legendary founder of the Beis Yaakov movement. She was a seamstress from Krakow. She saw how many Jewish girls were no longer interested in preserving their heritage, being lured by the magnetic pull of the secular revolution. With the support and blessing of great Torah leaders, including the Chavetz Chaim and the Ger Rebbe, she created a network of schools to educate young Jewish women. Those schools taught their students Torah values and an appreciation of those who study Torah, and motivated those girls to teach others what they learned. Without her efforts, it would have been impossible for the Jewish nation to survive. Therefore, the person who did the most for the Jewish nation, who kept us alive, was not a man, was not a Rosh Yeshiva, was not a Hasidic Rebbe, was a woman. And we owe all our gratitude to her. So, ladies, girls, mothers, you should feel fantastic about yourselves and your role in Klal Yisrael, those that have accomplished and those that have yet to accomplish. Now, I want to share with you a poem. Reb Zalek Bliskin, one of the great minds of Judaism, writes the following. In 1964, he read a poem that moved him greatly. It was written by one of the great minds of the 20th century, Rabbi Dessler, and was published in his Michtav Miliyahu, which is a classic series of talks on Musar. And he writes, and here's an English translation: the past is only memories, the future is but only hopes. Focus on the present, for that is where your life really is, and it consists only of tests. And he writes, I memorized the poem, and I repeated it frequently over the years, and it's truly profound. This short poem sums up one of the most important lessons we all need to live our lives to the fullest. And we need to reflect on this poem every time we find ourselves in trying circumstances. What you focus on expands. Your life challenge is to appreciate all that you can appreciate about the present. Your life challenge is to experience more joy in your present tefillah, your prayers, and your Torah study. Your life challenge is how to become a more kinder, more compassionate person, and to experience more joy for the good that you do while you're doing it. Your life challenge is to constantly develop your character qualities in the present, which is you have to focus on living your life now, not to worry about what happened in the past, and not to overly be consumed about what's coming up in the future. When you increase your level of understanding that every moment of your life is a challenge to choose wiser thoughts, kinder words, and more productive actions, you'll experience more meaning and purpose each day and every day. Every day is significant. Every day is valuable. Every day you can grow and develop yourself from that day's challenges. And that's important. If we just try that, focus on what I can accomplish on a daily basis, I can move forward with my life in the most productive fashion and not feel like I'm paralyzed in any way. You'll make your life journey more meaningful and joyful when you choose wisely now. And as long as you are alive, you're still on this great journey called life. Every step of the way, you have the memories of every great and joyful moment of your life. It's all archived there. I was reading a wonderful book called The Magic of Thinking Big. I was in Florida recently, I gave a lecture, I had some time to review a book that I really enjoyed. It's a secular book, but he says there's two foremen in our brain, Mr. Triumph and Mr. Defeat. And when we remember things that are good, Mr. Triumph leads the way. But if we focus on the things that trouble us, we allow Mr. Defeat to rule our life. And our mission in this world is to make sure that the foreman called Mr. Triumph gets the job and not Mr. Defeat. In our brain's great archives, we have memories of everything positive from any time in our life. In your brain, you have all the important knowledge and wisdom that you have ever heard and read. In your brain, you have every story about every great person that you either read or heard about any time in your life. Even if you don't remember it consciously, those stories, they're there, stored away in your archive. All you need to do is consciously focus on the main messages, which is to stay focused and to stay positive. Don't waste an excessive amount of time on regrets about the past, what happened last year, I'm behind the 8 ball and other people have an advantage over me. There is a Borei Olam, there's a master of the universe. And everything that he does with specific divine control over every one of our lives. Every single one of us has a specific GPS, a specific prescription. And what we're experiencing, each and every one of us was tailor-made for us individually. Those who focus on all that concerns them and bother about the past will miss out on making more constructive present moments. Don't waste an excessive amount of time worrying about the future. Those who do will miss out on the best and wisest things and actions right here and now. Because you have to live in the present and you have to live in the moment. Keep climbing and elevating yourself. Keep connecting with Hashem. Keep doing good in the world. Find acts of chesed you can be participating in. Keep doing acts of kindness. Keep gaining more wisdom. Keep growing, and I'll talk about that a little later. Keep up the efforts of being the best you that you can be. You have to continue to strive for higher goals. This is what makes us great as Orthodox Jews. Your entire life journey will become much more productive and successful when you continue developing your sense of self-image and your identity. Your self-image is already changing. It's constantly changing. You began as a helpless infant. Every year you accumulated more wisdom and knowledge and life experiences than the year before. So obviously you're growing. You're not giving yourself enough credit. You have to pat yourself on the back. Every time you do something good, you're not to show off and be egotistical about it, but take a little bit of joy and pride that today you give a little more tzedakah. Yesterday you helped someone who was in need of assistance of some kind. You participated in helping in the house. You prepared for Shabbos. All good things that you should feel good about. Your present sense of identity depends on how you see yourself right now. Your moods will change frequently. We expect that. Sometimes you'll feel happy and sometimes you won't. That's life. Sometimes you'll be calm and serene and sometimes you won't. But your neshama, which is your soul, and that's your essence, is always pure, is always kadosh, is always holy. Identify with your soul and see the major difference this will make on the rest of our journey through life. Right now, you're in the midst of an amazing journey. And hopefully, B'ezras Hashem, this bridge which is now is about to widen for all of us. We only complete our journey with our last breath. Every other breath gives us opportunities for more elevating thoughts, for more elevating words and actions. So we need to continue to choose wisely. Your soul is on a mission from Hashem. Every one of us has a mission in this world. We're all unique. We're all special. You have to see it that way. Only you are you now and always and forever. Only you have your unique life mission. Your loving Father, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, loves you and wants you to succeed. It's very important we think that way. The situations and occurrences throughout our life are divinely orchestrated to elevate us in your character. So that the past year, we were definitely tested to see how would we survive under the same roof with people for such a long period of time. Would we expand our midos? Would we expand our patience? Would we expand our capacity? Would we be able to forego our desire to get angry? Would we share more? Would we be more nurturing and loving? The questions we ask ourselves about life create who we are and get us to focus on direction. The Torah tells us, and now, Israel, what does Hashem want from us? Now, Ma Hashem rotzeh mecha. What does Hashem want now? This is a question that we need to be aware of many times throughout our day. Right now, what does Hashem want from me? Not yesterday, not the day before. What do I have to focus on now? And that's what I have to ask myself. I just have to worry about this 24-hour period. What does Hashem want from me now? It puts me on a path of elevating myself spiritually. This one question will make a difference in all aspects of our life. It will enable us to free ourselves from being upset about the past, because I can't do anything about that. That's gone, long gone. Regardless of what you have or have not done in the past, the question to focus is, what can I do now? The way the Yetzer Hara wants to paralyze us is to focus on what I missed out on, why I did not accomplish, what I did not do, who I didn't share with, who I didn't go out with. We can't focus on that. We've got to stay focused on what can I accomplish now. This question will also free us from obsessing about what might be in the future. You might have a multitude of concerns about the future. What's going to be? Am I going to get married? Is there hope for me? Etc. You might have a multitude of plans. But the highest priority question for now is, what can I do now that will be fulfilling to Hashem's will? How can I better accomplish what my purpose is here? Sometimes it'll be very clear to you what Hashem wants from us. Other times you'll need to reflect and contemplate before you answer that question. At times we might need to ask others like Rabbi and Rebbitzins and mentors, how should I spend my time? What should I focus on? What should I work on to improve? But at all times, you'll be creating yourself in a more elevated way because you're focusing on the moment, what you can accomplish now. Keep in mind that an important aspect of what Hashem wants is for us to do His will with Simcha. And that is very important. And when I have the privilege and opportunity to sit with people, whether it's on Zoom or WhatsApp video or live, as it's opening up more and more now, is to help them draft the top 10 list of what we're looking for in a spouse for them. And one of the key things that I almost find myself always going back to and including on the list is Simcha S'chaim. It's someone who has a zest for life, because in a long-term journey of marriage, you certainly don't want to be with someone who sees the world in a morose, gray way. You want someone who has an optimistic, buoyant attitude. We not only to live, but we have to live with joy. Joy together with courage, love, and serenity will help us stay on track. So right now, in each present moment, your life is perfect for you to continue living your life's mission. Each moment of life provides us with the opportunities to develop our character and elevate our life. Some moments will give us exactly the experience you want to grow from those moments. Some experiences will not be exactly what you chose. It was dumped on you, and your mission and your nisayon is to come out and smile and prove yourself worthy. You may wish to be someplace else or something different at that moment. I have a situation right now where I'm helping a couple in Los Angeles, and it has not been such an easy ride in the engagement. As a matter of fact, I got into the picture after the engagement was broken because she gave back the ring in the middle of Chol Hamoed. Make a long story short, the boy and girl really match up very well. He's a Ben Torah, she's a Bas Yisrael. Unfortunately, the problems came about when money started becoming a point of discussion between the parents of how much and who and where, etc., etc. With one side arguing, since it's Corona time, we can have a much more subdued wedding. Whereas the other side, keep in mind, this is the West Coast, LA's, with a little Hollywood in the background, wanted a more elaborate wedding, more fancier, and they obviously didn't see eye to eye. One or two words were exchanged, it became a problem. And then the girl really liked the boy, and she reached out to me. I was involved with the family, and I knew them well. I had been involved with several of her siblings and helped them as well. So Baruch Hashem, through some hard work and lots of work, the boy gave the ring back to the girl, and now there was a ominous moment this past week. The boy's shul sponsored a kiddush on his behalf to celebrate his forthcoming wedding, which we're hopefully still working and negotiating on. And there's one problem. Everyone was in the loop and agreeable, but the boy's mother was being a little bit harsh about coming to terms with the new reality. And I asked the mother to just cooperate and let's make shalom. And it was a problem. So the girl called me up and she said to me, we were all supposed to get on a Zoom and talk and make shalom, all of us. I myself in the middle with two sets of parents on both sides of the Zoom. Unfortunately, the boy's mother didn't cooperate for whatever it was. Anyway, the girl had a problem. She said, I'm going to go to shul, and how will I have to face the fact that I have to deal with the boy's mother? I can't, it's very difficult for me to be in the same room with her. And I said to her, let's just change her name. I said to her, Malki, there are going to be times in our life we're not so comfortable with. And Hashem puts us in those situations, and He expects us to smile and do the best that you can. I said to her, you're going to go in there, you're going to put a smile on, you're going to say hello to her, make some small talk, and be nice, and that's your test. And sometimes, like we say here, sometimes the tests are easy, and sometimes they're difficult. And one of the big tests that my audience has had is the idea of being in lockdown, not being able to travel to the United States. It's a test. I don't know if I could have passed it, but I tip my hat to anyone who's been in confinement that long and has had that kind of nisayon. But I guess you all much higher than me in terms of midos, and you have much more bandwidth than me in terms of capacity, because Hashem chose you and you have an amazing ability. So I tip my hat to you and I say chazak. I get strength from watching and listening to how many people were able to deal with it and grow stronger from it. Your thoughts can make every moment meaningful. Every moment you can fulfill the commandment of expressing love for Hashem. The more challenging the situations and circumstances are, the greater the opportunity to develop your character and become even better and better. This is a golden opportunity to hit greatness. In every present moment, ask yourself, what is the perfect, wisest, and most meaningful thing that I could think, say, or do right now? Now, we're all hoping for Simcha. We all want to achieve Simcha. What are some principles that I could share with you that help us to internalize Simcha, be able to cop this wonderful midah called Simcha? Okay, here we go. Here's a method, what's called the 9 principles for happiness formula. Test it for the next 30 days. For the next 30 days, try writing this down or review it when I send the video out. And this will help us tremendously to build Simcha, because Simcha is critical to you having that magnetic energy, so that when you're with someone or you're dating someone, they're going to enjoy your company and they're going to feed off your great energy. Number 1, I think appreciatively and gratefully. Gratitude is so key here. And when you see someone who's grateful, despite the things that they've been through, despite the challenges, that person is someone you just want to be around. That person is charismatic. That person is magnetic. What 5 things am I grateful for right now? My health, my life. I'm not sitting in a kidney dialysis center where it takes 7 or 8 hours to go to the bathroom. Baruch Hashem, I can go into the bathroom and pretty much, relieve myself within a minute or two. Baruch Hashem. So many wonderful things to be grateful for. Now's the time to work on the gratitude muscle. Number 2, I speak and act joyfully and kindly. That means you can say things 2 ways. Can I have that? Or can I please have that? So it's important. This is an opportunity now to act in a more respectful tone. 3, I assume there is good to something. What's good about this? I don't look for the negative. I try to see things from an ayin tovah, from a good eye, not an ayin tzara, not an eye that looks for the negative. I try to enjoy, I try to see the good in things, the good in people. Such a good thing to do. 4, I strive for meaningful goals in spite of where I am, in spite of my physical location, in spite of where I find myself cornered into. No, I'm not going to just sit and vegetate. I have meaningful goals. I have svarim that I want to learn. I have things that I can do. I can learn online. I can continue with my career. I can continue with my degree. 5, I see myself being the way I wish to be. That means I could visualize myself and where I see myself. That's very important, because think it and it'll be it. One of the important principles that the Tzemach Tzedek used to teach us. Think it and you can make it. Through thinking something, you can create the mitzias, the reality. 6, I focus on solutions. What outcome am I looking for? Right? If a problem arises, I'll first clarify the problem, and then I'll ask myself, what can I do about it? What can I solve? Is there a solution? I'm not going to just sit there and mope and complain. 7, I let challenges develop my character. This too will develop my character, I say to myself, right? As Rabbi Kiva said, this too is for the best. 8, I consistently access my positive states. My brain, which is awesome, stores my best happy states. What states do I want to be in right now? I can control the way I think. And how do we know that? The Shulchan Aruch tells us very clearly. Why does it tell us about the Chodesh of Adar? Mishenichnas Adar marbi b'simcha. When Adar comes in, I increase simcha. That means I'm in control. What the Shulchan Aruch is telling us is I control the volume button of joy. And when it tells us Mishenichnas Av, Mematim b'simcha. When Av come in, I reduce simcha. That tells us that we're controlling simcha here. We control the show, and that's important. And number 9, I smile and wave to mirrors. They always smile and wave back at me. Research has shown that smiling to ourselves in the mirror creates positive chemicals in our body. If you have a mirror handy, test your mirror to see if it will smile and wave to you when you smile and wave back to it. Read these principles every day, and then make them part of your life. The positive effect that it has will be incredible on us. It'll help train us into better, more happier individuals. What happens when we focus on what's wrong and what's missing? That's very detrimental. People who excel at focusing on what's wrong and what's missing in their lives also excel at making their lives totally miserable. Yet sometimes it's best to focus on what's wrong and to do what we can to fix it. But it's a big mistake to make finding problems the major theme of our life. Right? That's very important. To create more happy and joyful moments in our life, we need to keep our main focus on what we feel good about right now. By focusing on gratitude, we feel great love for Hashem, for our loved ones. By focusing on gratitude to everyone who has helped us until the present moment, we feel greater love and appreciation for all the wonderful and many people who've benefited us in some way. And there's so many people out there in our life that have helped us in so many ways. When you feel happy or joyful, ask yourself, what am I focusing on right now that's giving me such good feelings? The more time you spend focusing on that similar pattern, the more time you'll spend feeling happy and joyful. And when you feel unhappy, ask yourself, what am I focusing on right now that's causing me these distressful thoughts and feelings? The less time you spend on these similar patterns of focus, the more time you'll feel happy. That our focus creates our emotional state, for better or worse. That's one of the most important lessons we can learn. Teaching us by example, we should teach us by example to our children and our friends. And we'll be sure that we're constantly in a positive influence. Knowing that you are an inspiration to other people is a tremendous positive source of spirituality and provides meaningful good feelings. How do I get that serenity? How can I master serenity, which is key? When a person is serene, a person is calm, their thoughts are not clouded, they can think clearly, they can make good decisions, and obviously they can access that sense of happiness and joy. Serenity is at the root of many positive qualities and patterns. When we're serene, when you're serene, you're free from stress and from anxiety, from nervousness, fear, worry, and anger. And that's a state of well-being that's conducive for good, clear thinking. And especially in Shidduchim, we want good, clear thinking. Regardless of how stressed out you've become and you've been, or the kind of challenges we've had, you can create a moment of serenity in the present. Every time you're calm and serene, the moment is stored in your brain. The more moments of serenity that you have experienced in life, the easier it will be for you to access this wonderful state. 18 ideas for mastering serenity. Number one, serenity is a choice that I make with my own mind. I create moments of serenity with the way I speak to myself and the mental pictures I see. And don't kid yourself. We talk to ourselves all day long. And it's the messages that we send ourselves that are critical to determining that we're calm and tranquil. One of the key areas that really needs a lot of support and a lot of encouragement these days, obviously, is emunah. To realize that whatever happens in our life is for the best, that there's nothing that's evil that Hashem does in any way, that it's all good, and we have to be able to say, thank you, Hashem, for what's happened, regardless of whether ani mevin et zeh or lo, whether I understand it or not. That's number one. Number two, I will benefit in multiple ways if I work on having a serene mind. As I focus on these benefits, I'll be more motivated to master this quality. This moment is the only moment that exists right now. And this moment I can choose to be calm and serene. All stress comes, number four, from the thoughts in my mind. Therefore, my thoughts can release my stress. Whenever I realize that I feel stress, I'll talk to myself in ways that enable me to become calmer. You can change. Let me share an incredible story with you that I think it bears witness to this. There was a professor, Bigelow, and he decided he wanted to study in America. True story, Nachman Seltzer brings down. How does a millionaire become a millionaire? What is that one unique midah that a millionaire has that allows him to reach such dazzling heights of financial success? So he assigned 250 PhD students in his psychology department to go and live with 250 millionaires. He contacted millionaires in various areas, in various fields and areas of industry and business, and he asked for permission, can I send someone to study you? And millionaires love to show off and impress others with themselves, and especially their successes. So they were allowed to go for 6 months and live with these millionaires. After 6 months, all these PhD candidates would come back and present their findings to a large amphitheater, which was waiting breathlessly to determine and to get a determination what the results would be. After 6 months, it was announced that the results were in, and people piled into the amphitheater to hear what were the results of the findings of these people. Number one PhD student gets up and he says, my millionaire, well, let me tell you something about him. He's ruthless. He'll do anything to get to the top. Anybody that gets in the way, he crushes him. He's always suing others and people are suing him. His life is full of turmoil. Okay. Number two PhD candidate gets up. And same findings. My guy is hated, he's being sued, no one likes him, he has enemies everywhere, people backstabbing him all the time. And so the pattern continues, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30. It's going like this until they get to 249. PhD candidate 249 gets up, and he tells us about the millionaire that he went to study, his case study, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson was a pharmacy magnate who controlled a huge operation, a pharmacy manufacturing plant. And Mr. Johnson, very interestingly, had no enemies, didn't crush anyone to get to the top, wasn't suing anyone, and wasn't being sued. So, the professor was perplexed. Everyone in the audience was perplexed. What's going on here? Why is this guy not in the bell curve like everyone else? Everyone had the same exact findings. So they decided, let's send out a second batch of students to find out what makes Mr. Johnson unique. Why is he not in a similar pattern like all the other millionaires? So they went out to his beautiful summer home in the Hamptons where he was spending the summer, and he agreed to see them, the new group of graduate students, and he knocked on the door, and he was sitting with his gorgeous living room overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. And he said, Mr. Johnson, you were part of a study of what makes a millionaire. And he agreed. He said, yes. He says, we have a problem. Every one of the people that were in the study, every one of the millionaires that was in the study conformed nicely to a certain pattern. You broke the mold. Why? How come you have no enemies? How come you're not suing anyone being sued? And he said, you have to realize, that's exactly who I used to be. When I grew up, I wasn't wealthy. And my father pushed me hard. And he said, son, you'll do whatever you have to do to get to the top. You'll crush anybody that gets in your way. And that's the way I was. Until several years ago, I and several other CEOs from America decided, you know what? We're doing well with our national accounts, but we could use some international expansion. Why don't we go into Europe and see if we can expand our businesses over there? So we decided, we went on a private jet, we chartered the jet, we went to Europe, we had meetings in London, we were all in various fields, we didn't compete with each other, and we had meetings, and we had nice meetings, very productive. We had 1 day left extra in our schedule. We decided, you know what, we're 3-4 hours away from Israel, startup nation. A lot of high tech comes out of there. What do you say we go over there to Israel? And we hired ourselves a tour guide to show us the country. We had 24 hours. We made sure we had a very packed, efficiently scheduled tour. for those 24 hours, and our tour guide took us to the north and south, and at the end of seeing the south, he says, you know what, gentlemen, we have a half day left to our tour. I decided to schedule the best for last. I thought we would go to Jerusalem for the balance of our time that we're here. And so we followed him, as he knew the country like the back of his hand, and he took us to Jerusalem, and then he took us to this area called Beis Yisrael. Beis Yisrael, wasn't aware of, is where the largest yeshiva in the world is housed. That's the Mir Yeshiva of Yerushalayim, 8,000 students by now. And we walked in there, but first we walked in there, he warned us, he asked us some questions, and he says to us, you know what, you should know that they're studying Torah day and night in this place, and it's going to be very crowded. So Mr. Johnson is telling the story. We walked in, here we are, CEOs, billionaires. We walked into this yeshiva, this Institute of Higher Talmudic Learning. We were shocked. People were studying everywhere. It was so jammed. There were no chairs. People were sitting on steps underneath stairwells. And the funniest thing is they didn't even look up at us to admire us, to say, oh wow, American CEOs, billionaires. No one even cared about us. As we stepped out of the building, our host says, I saved the best for last. Now let's go meet the dean. Rabbi Tzvi Finkel, who passed away, alav shalom. As many of you know, he suffered from Parkinson's, and we were led up to a second floor apartment. We're expecting the dean of a major school would have a multi-million-dollar apartment overlooking the Kotel or some magnificent panoramic view of Jerusalem, but that wasn't the case at all. We walk into a simple apartment, very old-fashioned furniture, very worn furniture, books everywhere, and we see this gentleman who's having difficulty with his movements because he had Parkinson's, and he welcomed us with his incredible smile, and he told us, gentlemen, how did you like my yeshiva today? And he said, Rabbi, how do you do it? How do you run it with such precision? And he told us the following. He said, you know what? In an American college, if you had 7,000 students, how many square feet or meters would you need in order to be able to educate them? He said, maybe 10,000. Here, you have every student has a half a meter to himself. How many professors would you need for 7,000 students? At least 400 or 500. Gentlemen, here you have 20. And how many people here would you need to be able to run the institute of the school financially to raise a $50 million budget? You'd have the dean and a cadre of assistant deans and all types of people helping in raising funds. Here you have myself alone. And let me tell you just something, gentlemen. Today you saw why people can live together side by side and be able to be happy, because you saw today human beings. You didn't see animals. An animal has to plunge and attack. That's why it attacks when it wants something. But here today you saw human beings that can share, that can live within half a meter and learn within and sit within half a meter of someone else and be happy. And so Mr. Johnson said to the group that came to visit him, when I saw that experience, it changed me forever. It said, you know what? I can become a different person regardless of the age of my life. I don't have to be 20 or 30. At 55, I changed my whole routine in life. And that's what we're asking of ourselves today. Can I change? Can I continue to grow? Can I not just have to accept myself who I am, but what needles can I work on? And we'll talk about it a little bit now, so I want to continue with mastering serenity. I will recall times when I feel calm and serene. I'll access those times. I will mentally picture the most calm and serene scenes that I can imagine. Whatever I focus on gets strengthened. As I breathe calmly, I will repeat to myself with each breath, I'm becoming calmer and more serene. I will look at every challenging moment as a moment when I can upgrade myself and my qualities of character. And I'll say this too can make me a better person. And the 9-word formula is, be totally in the present with a calm attitude. No matter how much I have to do, I will do each thing calmly and serenely. This will enable me to take care of things faster and more wisely, because if I allow myself to get stressed out, I'm not productive. Whenever challenges with other people arise, I will allow myself to be in centered and focused state. In this manner, I will be able to think clearly. When I drink water, I'll tell myself every time I drink water, I feel calmer and more relaxed. I will learn from every person that I meet, especially the calm ones. I will learn from their attitudes and patterns of speaking. I will wear the head of a calm person. I will mentally prepare myself for challenges, so I can work on something that is unexpected and I can be able to respond to it. Whenever I think of a challenging situation, I'll picture myself handling the challenge calmly and serenely. Every time I practice in my mind, makes it easier to be this way in reality. Just like the Navy SEALs, or just like the Golani Brigade in the Israeli Defense Forces. They train for times they hope they never have to experience. But when it comes, they're ready. As I walk, I'll take calm walks. I'll say to myself, I'm becoming calmer and more relaxed with each and every step. So now I want to ask you, what things can I work on? What can I improve as a person now as I head off if I'm in Shidduchim? How can I access better states of myself? And I want to share some thoughts with you. Number one, honesty. Am I honest? Am I open to seeing myself who I am? Can I accept criticism and admit when I'm wrong? Number two, discipline. Am I patient? Can I exercise self-control? Can I delay gratification? Number three, do I put things in perspective? Can I distinguish between what's more important in life and what's less? What's important to get nervous about, what isn't? Can I emphasize satisfactions over frustrations, which means that I look at the positive over the negative? And more importantly, in this time, which has been very trying, do I have a sense of humor? It's important never to lose our sense of humor. Responsibility. Can I persevere in order to achieve and hang in there? Am I dependable? Realism. Am I prepared to not get everything I want and to accept that that's what Hashem wants for me right now? Growth. Am I committed to becoming a better person? Chesed. Can I put someone else's needs and desires before, or at least on par with my own? We've been certainly challenged in this last year and a half. And sometimes it's easy to want to take care of myself first. But here we can grow and allow someone, Yener Mensch, to go ahead of me. Can I share without keeping score? That's very important. Sensitivity. Am I attentive and receptive to others? Do I try to be aware of other people's feelings? Can I empathize with other people's problems if I think that my problems are the only problems in the world? Can I comfort and support someone else? That's the true sign of a winner. Respect. Can I tolerate differences and appreciate individuality of other people? Can I validate perspectives I disagree with? I can agree to disagree. Can I respect other people's boundaries? Can I respect other people's privacy? Communication. Can I share positive feelings and positive thoughts? Can I communicate negative feelings without attacking someone else? All things that I want to continue to encourage us to all work on. Flexibility. Can I resolve conflicts through discussion and negotiation? Can I concede when I'm wrong for the purpose of making shalom? Can I love others despite their flaws? Can I connect to someone even when I'm angry at him or her? Can I empathize goodness even though when there's faults? Am I willing to stick with a relationship through good times and bad times? I hope that I was able to share some insight tonight in terms of what I feel we can work on ourselves to be strong now, to work on the moment, to think into the moment, and to realize that there's a lot of growth that came from the last year and a half, and our mission is to shine and don't allow ourselves to become petty over little things, but to continue to grow and then better ourselves so that we can polish ourselves like diamonds and be the people that Hashem wanted us to be.